Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. I'm your host, the fellow KGB. We are finishing our NFC East fantasy previews here. We covered the first three teams tonight. We're going to finish with the Washington football team, the defending NFC East champion team. I'm super excited about what they have going on for them. We got Ron Rivera year two, Scott Turner offense, Jack Del Rio as the defensive coordinator. So everything's pretty continuity-wise. Everything looks really, really good here. And then with the extra game here with Ryan Fitzpatrick, Antonio Gibson returning, Terry McLaurin, they add Curtis Samuel, Logan Thomas is back. This should be a really fun offense. And we know that defense is going to be, if not the best, like second, third best defense at worst. They have a lot of nice pieces going for them on that side of the ball. And the offense is pretty much guaranteed to be better as long as Ryan Fitzpatrick plays the full season. So a lot of excitement for the Washington football team. And basically, we're going to go over the depth chart. We'll look at the draft class, but I first want to look at the free agents, the guys that they added, the guys that departed, the additions, cornerback William Jackson, Curtis Samuel from the Panthers, Ron Rivera, very familiar with him. Scott Turner is going to be able to do some great things with Curtis. Big fan of Curtis Samuel. Of course, Ryan Fitzpatrick, left tackle Charles Leno is a good snag, Darryl Roberts, cornerback, Adam Humphries was a late addition to this team, and Lamar Miller. So a lot of offensive pieces here, a couple good corners, and you've got a really good left tackle there too. And then the notable departures here are cornerback Ronald Darby, Kevin Pierre-Louis, the linebacker, Jeremy Sprinkle, the tight end, and Fabian Morrow. So not too many losses. It should be a pretty consistent group that stays behind in Washington. And let's just take a look at this draft class real quick. They had the 19th overall pick. They take Yamin Davis out of Kentucky. They come back with Sam Cosmi, the Texas offensive tackle. They get a cornerback in the third round out of Minnesota, Benjamin St. Juste. And then the one that I'm super excited about is Dyami Brown out of North Carolina. I thought he was super exciting. He kind of plays like an A.J. Brown. If you just kind of squint your eyes and watch the tape, maybe he's not as big, but he's still a big, fast, strong player. And he's got a lot of fun things that he can add to this offense. And he could be their number 3 wide receiver. I think he's going to be their fourth or fifth guy this season. But he's definitely, as far as watching this in the preseason, he's the one guy in offense that you got to make sure you keep an eye on him. They did snag a tight end in the 4th round, John Bates out of Boise State. Really smart player. He should fit in with them nicely. He could be their number 2 behind Logan Thomas for a little bit. And then just a lot of defensive help here. Safety, the long snapper, Cheeseman, sweet name. 2 defensive ends. And then another receiver here, Dax Milne out of BYU. So a pretty strong draft class. It touched it was a well-rounded draft class. It touched a little bit on offense, a little bit on defense. A couple potential starters here at the top with the linebacker, Yamin Davis, and the tackle here, Sam Cosmi. So I like this all quite a bit. Let's just take a look at their full depth chart. And this is using Our Lads website here. So they snagged Leno in free agency. He's going to start a left tackle for them. You see Cosmi is going to be the backup here. Dyami Brown's listed as the second team wide receiver here. So as far as the draft here, you're adding 2 backups. John Bates is kind of a third string guy. We'll see if Dax Milne or Jarrett Patterson can make the team. We'll keep an eye on Jarrett Patterson as a UDFA. That's kind of a fun one. But Yamin Davis is going to slot right into the starting lineup, and then just a bunch of depth guys. So not a lot of starters in the draft, but it's a good draft class, well-rounded draft class nonetheless. So we're looking here at the depth chart. And Ryan Fitzpatrick, man, you just think about what this team went through last year with Alex Smith. And who else did we have? We had Dwayne Haskins. We had a little bit of Taylor Heineke. We had a little bit of Kyle Allen. Ryan Fitzpatrick's going to bring a lot of consistency to this offense. He's going to bring a little element of the deep ball. That's something that Alex Smith lacked. Alex Smith has lacked that pretty much his whole career. But he's retiring. Nice to see Alex Smith kind of go out with a cool comeback player of the year type performance. So I'm happy for Smith, but Ryan Fitzpatrick should really excite us for this offense. That's going to feed Antonio Gibson, Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, Logan Thomas. So all the guys here that I have in bold, I want on my fantasy team this year. I'm super excited. Fitzpatrick, he's going to be useful I believe he's going to be useful in Superflex leagues as like a top 15 quarterback. I think in standard 1 quarterback leagues, he's going to be that guy that you can get real late in drafts and just see what kind of happens, play the matchups. We know he's going to continue to sling it. He's going to probably wreck some games with some interceptions and whatnot. But this might be the best situation that Ryan Fitzpatrick has found himself in a very long time. He's got a really good defense behind him. I think that's the one thing that's missing from all of his seasons in the NFL. Is he's got a great defense behind him this year. He's got a really strong running back, Antonio Gibson. He's got a J.D. McKissic that can catch passes out of the backfield. You got Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel ahead of the two-headed wide receiver group there. I liked some of the depth at receiver too. Calvin Harmon coming back from injury this year. Cam Sims was the number 2 receiver for this team last year, so I think he's going to probably slot as the number 3 guy. Antonio Gandy-Golden coming into another year here, but Dyami Brown, that's the 3rd round pick. I think if I readjusted this depth chart, I'm probably going to put Cam Sims as the number 3, and then I'm going to split Kelvin Harmon and Dyami Brown as the 4-5, and then Golden will be the 6. We'll see if Steven Sims, Adam Humphries can make the roster as that 7th receiver. But it's a decent-looking receiver group. I think people will recognize Cam Sims as a better player this year. He came on strong at the end of last year. So interested there. But Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, I love getting these guys. Terry McLaurin can sometimes be had in the 4th round of drafts right now. That's an absolute steal. And I just think, man, like, if we go back and look at Terry McLaurin's numbers let's pull this up. So the main difference from his 2 seasons, look at the yards per catch. 15.8 in 2019, only 12.9 last year. So the 87 catches, the 134 targets, that's fantastic. I hope he can repeat those numbers again this year. But if he adds 3 more yards per catch, all of a sudden you're adding 240 some yards to this. You're looking at 1,300 yards and maybe a couple touchdowns. And the reason why his yards per catch was down last year, it's Alex Smith playing pretty much the majority of the season, along with some inconsistent play from Dwayne Haskins and some of the other backup quarterbacks. But you're adding Ryan Fitzpatrick, a guy who's not afraid to fling it up and let receivers go get it. You think about what happened in 2019 with Washington. You had Case Keenum, and that's when Terry kind of emerged onto the scene. His first couple games, you had Case Keenum just slinging the ball and just not afraid to chuck it deep. You see some of these, huge yards per catch here towards the beginning of the season, and then kind of down here with Dwayne Haskins a little bit. But man, I'm super excited to get Terry McLaurin on my fantasy team this year, and then Curtis Samuel, man, just because it's a new team. Typically, you don't like receivers on new teams, but I think Stephon Diggs and DeAndre Hopkins really shattered that last year. I think people understand that Curtis Samuel is a weapon on offense. He's going to get carries. He's going to get a lot of catches. And just the familiarity with Ron Rivera and Scott Turner, I think this is the best spot for Curtis Samuel to be outside of Carolina. So I'm super happy with the fit. Curtis Samuel, he's going to be a wide receiver 3+. He's probably going to almost be a wide receiver 2. I just think Fitzpatrick's, he's going to feed these guys, McLaurin, Samuel. He's going to feed those guys with targets. They're going to be getting the ball 7, 8, 9 times per game. So super excited about them. And then you get Logan Thomas, who was probably the tight end sleeper of the year last year. Top 5 tight end. He might have been 3rd or 4th even, if I can remember correctly. But you give him Ryan Fitzpatrick, a guy that's, he's been really successful with Mike Gesicki the last couple of seasons. Fitzpatrick is a smart guy. He knows how to get these guys the ball. So I'm the way, like in my best ball leagues, I've been getting Logan Thomas in the 9th, 10th round as my tight end 1. And to me, that's been my favorite way to build my rosters, is I'm kind of waiting on tight end. And if for some reason Logan Thomas, he's not the top 5 tight end off the board, and it just seems like to me, it's a no-brainer. This Washington football team offense is going to be better this year. A 2nd-year Antonio Gibson, a competent Ryan Fitzpatrick, another year for Terry McLaurin, added Curtis Samuel, and now Logan Thomas has secured himself as one of the best tight ends at the position. So a lot of fun there. Some of the backups to Mark Hemingway, John Bates in the draft from Boise State. They added Deion Yelder from Kansas City, Tyrone Swoops, and Sammy Reyes here. So I like this offense. I think it's going to be fun. We just need Fitzpatrick to stay healthy. So I'm open to drafting pretty much anybody that you see here in bold. I didn't really touch on Antonio Gibson, but I just think, again, you're looking in the 2nd round, the mid to late 2nd round, you're looking at a running back here who put up fantastic numbers for a guy that no one really knew what they were getting until Adrian Peterson left. But 11 rushing touchdowns, 36 catches. I'd like to see him more involved as a receiver. I think they gave J.D. McKissic a lot of work. So we'll see if Antonio Gibson gets more work on the 3rd down stuff. But, man, the carries were there. Like at one point, a couple games over 20, he's going to average, between 13 and probably like 17, 18 carries per game. It's going to be a nice season workload. Everybody remembers that game that he had on Thanksgiving. And then he kind of gets dinged up and he just didn't really finish that strong. So a disappointing end to his rookie season, but the touchdowns are going to be there. The catches are going to be consistent with Ryan Fitzpatrick. And I just think Gibson, he's going to look best as your running back too. But this is, RB1 upside. You look at the PPR scoring, he's going to get, he averaged basically 14.7 points per game last year. Probably going to be in the 17s, I would think, this year. But that touchdown number, that's pretty high. So that I could see that coming down. Who knows? But with Ron Rivera calling the play, we've seen how he ran Christian McCaffrey pretty hard. So I'm excited about Gibson year 2. Just looking at some of my numbers real quick, I have Ryan Fitzpatrick penciled in for 4,500 yards, 24 touchdowns, and a couple rushing touchdowns as well. Gibson, I don't have him yet for 1,000 yards. I'm willing to move these numbers. So like when I do my initial projections, these are just placeholders, and I'll adjust them later. But I got McKissick and Barber getting carries. We got to work out this depth chart yet. But a baseline floor for Gibson is getting 200 plus carries. He's going to flirt with 1,000 yards. And I gave him a decrease in touchdowns. I gave him 9 just because I think they're going to be passing the ball a little bit more. Only 16 passing touchdowns last year. That's going up with Ryan Fitzpatrick. So I think there will be less rushing touchdown opportunities for Antonio Gibson. But nonetheless, I think his workload in the passing game is going to go up. So there's still a lot of upside with him as your RB2. And then looking at the receivers, I have, of course, Terry McLaurin leading the way, 88 catches, almost 1,265 yards and 6 touchdowns. We're probably going to see, again, that much better yards per catch out of Terry this year. With Curtis Samuel, you're looking at somewhere in the 70s for catches, 800 to 900 yards and 5 plus touchdowns. But you're also getting that work in the running game. So he's going to rush for over 100 yards and maybe a touchdown. And then after that, I got Logan Thomas down here, 76 catches, but almost 900 yards and 7 touchdowns, which is it's very reasonable. That's actually down basically what he did last year, just a little bit more downfield. I think Logan Thomas, again, with Fitzpatrick compared to Alex Smith, you're going to see some of these Washington football players get a little bit more yards per catch as the field just gets stretched out a little bit more with Ryan Fitzpatrick. So I'm super excited about the football team. I'm excited about the NFC East. And I don't know. That's going to do it for tonight's video. I think the next division I'm going to cover is going to be, the AFC. We'll go to the AFC North next, and that'll be fun. So we'll get into that next week, maybe tomorrow. We'll see. But that's going to do it. Thank you guys so much for your time. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you're new. Let me know your thoughts on the Washington football team in the comments below. And thank you. Have a good night. Peace.